Let's clear something up. Vikings never wore horned helmets. Minnesota Vikings logo? Lie. Super Nintendo classic The Last Vikings? Not historically accurate. Hagar the Horrible? Horribly inaccurate. And Elmer Fudd's magic helmet? Perfect for rabbit killing?
Magic helmet?
Magic helmet!
Magic helmet.
It's a cartoon. Historians have settled the question if Vikings wore horned helmets or not. They did not.
Hey!
So why do we still think they did?
The paper I wrote on those famous horned helmets is called The Invention of the Viking Horned Helmet.
There's no documentation or archaeological evidence that the Vikings wore horned helmets. Instead, the helmets show up hundreds of years later, thanks to the German composer Richard Wagner and the very operas that Bugs Bunny parodied. Professor Frank found very rare smatterings of earlier illustrations of Vikings with horns, like this one from 1856. But for the most part,
The first horns put on Viking heads would have been right after the 1876 performance of The Ring of the Nibelungen.
that's the Ring Cycle, Wagner's bombastic marathon four-part opera. The costume designer was Karl Emil Doepler, who created gorgeous designs for Wagner's saga of Norse mythology. They were enormously influential and completely made up. Upper-class characters got feathers and other fancy adornment. But the lower-class characters...
I found that Karl Emil Doepler had put these horns on the heads of the lower class barbarians.
To really understand the horns, though, you have to understand why Doepler and Wagner bothered with Vikings in the first place. Wagner's goal wasn't just to retell Norse legend, but to establish a new German one through it. The German Empire was in search of a national myth. They wanted their own ancient origin story, apart from Greek and Roman classical history. The Norse sagas provided a third option.
This happened during a period of German nationalism, and the idea of the free barbarian, strong and true, could be blended with that of the Viking, the great sea warrior. To give you, poor Germany had very little medieval material. The Scandinavians had it all.
And in a game of historical telephone, the Germans wanted the Norse story to be their story. Those horns had appeared in German drawings of ancient and medieval warriors, so Wagner cut and pasted. From the 1870s on, it became storybook history. The horned helmets quickly showed up around the world, and in the end, the helmet did do something. It created a raw and beautiful image that was completely mythical. It wasn't just some Viking horns. It became, in a way, a magic helmet.
Yes, magic helmet, and I'll give you a sample.
One of the things I like about Frank's paper is that she tracks down the evidence when it comes to helmets. And you can do that by looking at different editions of the same story. For example, in the original 1861 History of Burnt Knoll, there were no Viking horned helmets in the entire book. But by 1890, this picture appeared in the first few pages.